what's best for me, what's best for you, what's best for all of us incorporated is the idea of me sitting within the confines of my own home to talk about authorship from the point of view of an author, myself, looking at community writing. This went back 5 or 6 years ago. Wishing can be dangerous. Or what is my mission? But perhaps going back nearer 10 years ago, I wrote a book entitled Inklings of a Black Christ. Well, now, I'm not going to be talking about my authorship. So from the point of view of interactional mechanisms, I will be looking at the lives of others who've been doing the same thing. For instance, this is part and parcel of what might look like a manuscript. It's a manuscript in preparation for my latest book. And what it is doing, in effect, apart from introducing myself, is to look on a current work entitled, I'll give you the title of it, Echoes of a Whisper. Now, Echoes of a Whisper has been written by Madge Saunders. Well, as it turns out, she's one of the most prolific of all time I have seen up to now, taking my memory, my mind, my recollection back to the days of D.H. Lawrence, the O-levels, the A-level days. She's written something to the tune of 100 poems, if you see what I mean. So, all right. Now, my task this afternoon is to look not just through rose-colored glasses, but at the life and times of people like Paul Grant. Have I got a picture of Paul Grant coming up? Yes, I do. He has been writing, in effect, he started writing after I did. He has written some 5 books, I think, to date. 6, I think he's working on his 7th work. These writers, to whom I'd like to be focusing my attention this afternoon, come from within the confines of the Nottinghamshire community. Once authors, once performer poets, always performer poets. What I'll also be doing is focusing on a particular organization to which I have had the chance of working, liaising, and perhaps inviting them in my home for one reason or another. It is to do with writing. Anybody has ever heard of an organization called CHROMA? CHROMA, an acronym for Chronicle of Minority Arts. There was an anthology, this is going back about 25 years, 8 or 10 poets. And so my task in my latest book is to try and focus on some sort of credit, congratulation, feast, what constitutes at long last our labors in retrospect. What can we do to upgrade authorship in the history of Nottinghamshire writers? All of these writers I'm focusing on are of African Caribbean heritage. They have, because in the days when, let's go back to the O-levels and the A-levels, 60s, 70s and 80s, people, students have been asking, can we have more African Caribbean writers? So at long last, mine is, you'd say, a kind of celebration within the confines of the warmth, exuberance, and sentimentality of those in respect of who have decided to respond to the call. There is a need for a field of writers. The African Caribbean authors happy to say that things are on the move. So my manuscript is a poetic profile on Pitman Browne, Pitman Browne speaks the poetic rhapsody of authors within the life and times of, you'd say, 1980s, 90s, the 2000 era and beyond. So while I'm on it, it's giving me a chance to home in on one of the latest publications entitled Triumph Over Pain by Glenda Knockporty. This, after the manuscript, when I saw it, I thought, my goodness, this is going places. But to see a finished product, I was happy to go along to the launch and to give vent, give volume, give moral support to the book. This is worth its weight in gold. I'd like to see things like this happening. This is an introspective, soul-searching and heart-warming in terms of wherever these stories are going to come from, your own life experience. Glenda was born in this country. She went to Dominica. She came back here as a teenager. And life experience unfolds from she's lost her mother, the extended family of the Caribbean, so no more. So that means she's got to acclimatize. So this is a web, a cacophony of different tonal sounds, inflections coming from all corners of her life. Education, work, church, rolled together in order to give us a sample of life experience. Who feels it knows. I think one of my tasks in preparing this manuscript is to look affectionately, look introspectively, and draw out as much as I can from each author. Now, Paul Grant is a beacon of light, of course, writing. I'd like to describe him, his general approach, as the sociological approach. Diagrams, evidence, source evidence, all neatly laid out. He travels in order to substantiate source evidence, and I give thanks for the fact that Paul Grant is now joining all those who have majored in Afro-Caribbean writing and presentation. Now, this book, taking us back to the 1980s, focused on Nestle Saunders. She was the first person I have ever met, and Nestle and her associations with the Chroma, Chronicle of Minority Arts. This constitutes an end product. She really did respond at the time when it was needed. All of us, in terms of a writers collective, sitting in the round, she was the first person to field a book of this kind. It's poetry, all of it. Let's say about 60 poems entitled Divine Inspiration. So this constitutes, for the most part, a flavor of what my latest book, I call it book number 6. I must not forget Whom the Lord Loveth by Errol Crossdale. This book was launched 3 years ago. Errol, by the way, is writing his first book. He's an expatriate from the streets of Kingston, Jamaica. He was writing, establishing some sort of parallel between life in Kingston, Jamaica and life in England. It's been a sort of espionage, managed to slip in and out of the country without the police, the airport, authorities. There's conflict. This book is really and truly about conflicts, various girlfriends, each not knowing that the other exists. So there is fun and games. There's also violence within the confines of these pages. I like hues of blackness.